Hi everyone, I'm Shelly and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. I'm back with another Question the Narrative video, and today's topic is I want my channel to be a living book. I know most of you right now are probably thinking, what is she going on about calling her channel a living book? Well, I'll get to that in a minute. I do just want to tell you that I wasn't sure if I wanted to even count this as a Question the Narrative video because of what I'm going to be talking about. But since it stems from people asking me why I have been stuck on preterism and not talking about other truther topics, I thought, yeah, I'm going to categorize it with the Question the Narrative videos so that people can understand where I am coming from and what I'm talking about when I say that I want my channel to be a living book. If you are a homeschooling parent, you will right away at least know what the living book reference is. But first of all, let me just give you a quick history of my channel. So I started my channel out as a homeschooling and education channel. I used to be a homeschool blogger. So I used to do that. I used to do homeschool reviews. I would write articles. I would write for Christian websites. I had a couple of articles in homeschooling magazines, but I really wanted to just get out there and talk. I'm a talker, and that's something that I really like to do. So I thought, you know what? Instead of talking my husband's ear off about homeschooling, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. So that's actually where it began. After making hundreds of homeschooling videos, I started to kind of morph into my Question the Narrative series, where I would just do a Question the Narrative video every now and then, but they were still interspersed with the homeschooling videos because homeschooling was still my main passion, but I was kind of getting into the truther topics as well. Well, over time, the truther topics became my passion. And so that is why my channel ended up being mainly Question the Narrative videos. All of those videos that you, if you've been here for a while, you know I talked about. The moon landing and biblical cosmology and mud floods and the short season, giants, fairies, petrified titans. You know, it could just go on and on with the things that I have talked about. And I have covered a lot of territory. And yeah, that is where I got most of my subscriber base, is from my Question the Narrative video. But now, as many of you have noticed, I have kind of turned into what I have been calling my standstill at preterism, specifically full preterism, but I have still been labeling them as the Question the Narrative series. And I'll make another video about why I still do that too, because someone said to me, you don't even question the narrative anymore. And you absolutely couldn't be further from the truth when it comes to full preterism being the narrative. I mean, come on. Anyway, so now getting into this example, or the living books title. So if you are a homeschooling parent, or if you're not, you may have heard about a passion-driven education or interest-led learning. And when you are homeschooling your children, you will often see that there are some children, some more than others, who will find one topic that they absolutely get so enamored with that is all they want to do. They want to read books about this topic. They want to watch videos about this topic. They want to collect things about this topic. They want to write things about this topic. They want to draw things about this topic. And they could spend hours and hours and hours every day for weeks, sometimes months, before they start changing their mind and moving on to something else. And a lot of times homeschooling parents, even if their children are, really delving deeply into these topics, we can still get a little bit unsure of ourselves and think, oh, but I should definitely be showing this, this, and this to my child on top of what they're already doing. And what I'm sure a lot of you homeschooling parents have noticed, if you have children who are like that, who do deep dives on their own, if you give them topics that you want them to explore, your children will very likely do them in a half-hearted manner, simply because they're told that they have to learn about them. But you're not going to get the quality of output that you get from the passion-driven learning that they have been doing for an extended period of time. And that's something that I have learned. I've been homeschooling now for 16 years, and I have learned that when your children are following their own interests, they are learning far more than if you tell them what it is that you want them to learn. You're kind of actually holding them back in a way when you do that. Something else that a lot of homeschooling parents know is what a living book is. A living book is a book that was written by an author who has a passion for the topic. They have a deep-seated interest in this topic, and they decided to write this book simply out of a love for whatever subject they are, sharing with everyone. So living books are very often biographies, autobiographies. They could be the nonfiction books that you see at the library are very often considered living books. They are just packed with information. They're very deep. They're interesting to read because you can tell when somebody really has a love for the subject in the way that they are sharing it with you. Because on the other end of living books are textbooks, which everyone who has been to school is familiar with textbooks. And a textbook is written by multiple authors who have been hired to write about this, not because they have a love for the subject, just because, they're getting paid to do it, or because that's what they were told what they have to do. And what you will notice about textbooks is that they are very dry. They're so boring. They're very shallow. You don't get very deep learning from textbooks. You only get little snippets of information because they're trying to pack certain things into a textbook. In fact, I once read a book to my children that had a foreword by the author saying, "Hey, look, this is all the stuff I wasn't allowed to put in the textbook that I wrote. This is the interesting stuff." And so that is really what the difference is between a living book, is that there is an author who has a passionate interest in the topic, and then you have a textbook where they are just sharing because they basically have to do that for their job. One thing that I can tell you for sure is that adults like to follow their passions too. We are the same way as our children in that way, in that you can tell when an adult truly wants to do something and when they are just going through the motions and doing things simply because they feel like they have to. And that is exactly the path that my channel has now taken. I started out this channel with a passion for homeschooling, and then that quickly changed into a passion for the truther topics. And then when I fell onto full preterism, I have now developed a passion for full preterism because, what I can tell you that I have discovered now is that there is no truther topic, no rabbit hole, nothing other than the gospel that is more important, in my opinion, than the truth of full preterism, of the truth that everything that Jesus said was going to happen was fulfilled when he said it was going to be fulfilled. There's no truth or topic more important than that. Yes, mud floods are interesting, and learning about Nephilim are interesting, and I still love learning about fairies and those sorts of things. They're very interesting, but I spent years on those topics, and now in comparison to what I have learned about the truth of God's word and the fact that all of these things happened exactly when and how they were supposed to, you're not going to get a passionate video from me at this point about the other topics anymore, because I am right now, this is where I'm at. I'm on full preterism. So, until the Lord leads me elsewhere, this is where I'm going to be. And again, it doesn't mean that I'm never going to talk about any of those other topics, because if I feel led to, then yes, I'm going to. But I also don't want to give you content just because, honestly, just because people expect it of me. I want to be true to my channel. I started this channel so that I could share the things that interest me. And what I discovered was that a lot of people shared my interests and enjoyed that. And, I also discovered that sometimes people fall away because they're not, they don't have the same interests as me anymore. And that is fine. So I just don't want to get into the mode where I'm only covering topics, not because I'm really, really, really passionate about them, but because I feel like I have to. Because truth be told, if I end up doing that, you're going to feel that in the content. It's not going to be as deep. It's It's not going to be as researched. And just as a child who, when they're doing school and they're given a topic that they're not really interested in, or maybe that they're interested in but just aren't at that point in time because they really would like to learn about something else, that's what you're going to get out of me, is just kind of a going through the motions thing. Because honestly, every truther topic out there right now, in my opinion, how in the truther community we will always say, don't watch mainstream media, everything is a distraction, they're just distracting you. Honestly, now I see everything else, including truther topics, as a distraction from the one most important thing that we could possibly understand. And that is that we are living in the kingdom now. That all of those things that everyone is waiting for in the future are already here. It is just ours to grasp and to understand what that means. So I don't want to spend my time on distractions. I want to spend my time on the truth, and the most important truth, like I said, besides the gospel. So, if it comes down to it, there's the living book version of my channel where I am going to share with you what it is that I'm extremely passionate about at that time, and I'm going to give you hopefully quality content. Some of you will consider it that. But then if there's the textbook version of my channel, then I will be giving you just topics that you might be more interested in, but you're going to feel it in my video itself that I'm just not feeling it at that moment. And you know what? I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want to waste my time on doing things like that. So that is where I'm at right now. That is why I've been stuck on preterism, because try as I might, I have been racking my brain for a truther topic that I could do a video on, that I would be able to do a good quality video on right now. And my heart is just not in any of them right now because I covered so many topics for so long. And again, I see that a lot of those topics are really just more about covering up the ultimate truth. So that's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one down below. And if you like my work and would like to become a channel member, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. Or you can just click on it right on my channel page. And I hope you have a great day.